Good morning, sports fans. This is Jeff again, and I thought I would do a quick video about something that's interesting. My wife and I were talking about this, and it came back to my remembrance this morning. So I want to start out, of course, with the Word of God. Psalm 14 says, "A fool has said in his heart, there is no God. They are corrupt, they have done abominable works, there is none who does good. The Lord looks down from heaven upon the children of men to see if there are any who understand, who seek God. They have all turned aside. They have altogether become corrupt. There is none who does good, no, not one." You see, it's really interesting in today's world that a cultural norm that has existed from perhaps prehistory has been thrown out the window. And this is, in my opinion, a plan of the devil. And that cultural norm is to look at oneself in light of one's actual achievement, especially with regard to education. And what I mean by that is, I'll use myself as an example. I'm not better than anyone else. The scriptures teach us that we should be more humble than everyone else. And so that's my hope in my heart. But I do have a couple of college degrees. And that doesn't mean I'm better than anyone. And they're actual college degrees. They're not something that I downloaded off of the internet. I actually went to college for years. And again, while it doesn't make me any better than anyone else, I'm actually a peer-reviewed former scientist. I say former because I haven't done any science in quite a long time. But I have published work in human genetics. And so what used to happen is, let's say, for example, that you had actual college degrees or education in architecture. Well, and you wanted to talk about the subject of architecture. Well, a norm would be that I would give you deference, and I would say, okay, well, you're an educated architect. You have experience in education in this subject. So I'm going to listen to what you have to say, and I'm going to weigh it based on the fact that you have this record of architecture, which I don't have. I don't really know much about anything about architecture other than what if I see some architecture that I like. So it would be foolish for me to say and to give an opinion and to pontificate on architecture, right? I mean, unless I was just talking about, hey, this is the kind of architecture that I love. But it would be really foolish of me to run around and tell people what they should do regarding architecture. If they listened to me, they would be foolish because I don't have any education or any experience in that. Well, because of the internet and social media, vast numbers of people have suddenly, in their own minds, become experts. And so they'll pontificate about things for which they have no education or experience. And the thing that's really interesting and weird is many times they'll do this with people who have enormous amounts of education or experience. Like, for example, a medical doctor. In case you don't know, a medical doctor, after graduating with an undergraduate degree, has to go to medical school for 4 years. Then they generally have to go to a residency for 1 to 3 years, depending on their specialty. And if they're doing something like electrophysiology or neuroscience or some sort of brain surgery, then they've got additional fellowships after that. So they're looking at 7 to 10 to 12 years of college after their 4-year undergraduate degree. And you have people who barely graduated high school who are excoriating these doctors for giving out horrible medical advice. Jesus once said this about the religious leaders of his day. He said they are blind people leading other blind people. And if that happens, then both of them are going to fall into a ditch, right? Um, and that's what's happening today. People are falling into ditches because they're blind. And let's talk about this in relationship to God. So I see so many people, especially online, um, posting these ridiculous comments in lectures given by prominent men and women who have education and decades of experience in theology and physics, some of whom are some of the brightest people on earth. And yet, these folks who, prior to the internet, would have probably lived in their parents' garage and not been given any credence whatsoever, are now suddenly experts and are talking about how foolish and stupid and dumb and these very educated and accomplished people are. Don't do that. And don't listen to people like that. Don't listen to me if I start talking about architecture, right? Find people who actually have done things in the field that they're pontificating about. If you need a plumbing repair, find a good, experienced plumber. Don't go hire someone that just decided to tell you that they're a plumber. Well, the same thing goes for everything, especially God, right? Why are so many people today saying there is no God? Well, they're fools in their heart, according to the Psalms that I just read, right? And why are people becoming even more foolish? Because they're listening to the words of people that they shouldn't be listening to. You know, the Apostle Paul wrote a letter to a church in Galatia, which is modern-day Turkey, about this same thing. He said, "O foolish Galatians, who has bewitched you?" Right? Who has tricked you into believing all this nonsense? And the Apostle Paul said, when I came and told you this stuff that was right, but now you're listening to all these cheese monkeys. Now, he didn't use that word. He would have if it was a colloquialism at the time that he was living. But now you're listening to all these chumps tell you all this nonsense. And boy, I hear that so much today, from young people especially. They see some video on the internet and they believe it. Well, don't. Unless you know that it's from a credible source that has some history and education, you shouldn't be believing that stuff. Don't be a fool and say in your heart that there is no God. And don't be a fool and pontificate against people who have no education and no experience. And don't waste your time listening to those people either. But be blessed. Be blessed in your heart. Be blessed in your life. Be blessed with the word of Jesus, the word of God. And if you're interested and you want to debate someone or you want to pontificate about something, go learn about it. Go get a degree. Or go become an apprentice. Or go work in that field. Love y'all. Be blessed.